Hi guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be discussing challenging unhelpful thoughts and balanced thinking, and whether or not this is, a good tool to use. So I guess I should start with patterns of unhelpful thinking. So the more common patterns tend to be like things like predicting the future. So you'll just map out the scenario and you'll instantly assume the worst. Like you don't even give it a chance. So like if you're going out to a party, you'd automatically think, oh well, I'm going to go to this party, I'm not going to have a good time. People aren't going to talk to me, I'm just going to be sat there bored. That kind of thing is like your unhelpful pattern of predicting the future. Or it could be, you're going into an exam and your instant thought is, oh, I'm going to fail it. So by predicting the future, your instant thought is to go into negative things. Like you don't automatically predict positive outcomes, like I'm going to have a great time, I'm going to make loads of new friends, I'm going to ace this test. And it's because when we do think about the future, and tends to be everybody, not just people who suffer from like anxiety, you do tend to instantly assume the worst. And I guess we're always told if you set the bar really low and you achieve more, then it looks better. But by setting the bar really low, you're capping your expectations to that and you don't actually work as hard towards it. So you're always used to reaching low, you're always used to these negative outcomes. So you instantly start predicting this when thinking of future events. Another one is jumping to conclusions, which is very similar to predicting the future of an outcome, but jumping to conclusions tends to be halfway through a situation, and it's based off what has happened or things that you know that have happened in like a short space of time. So this could be your first day of school, and perhaps your morning you've had your worst 2 lessons, you've not made any new friends, so you're going to jump to conclusions and instantly assume it's going to be the worst year ever. You're going to end up with no friends by the end of it, or maybe you'd sit in an exam and you're about halfway through and so far you've really struggled with the questions. Now, typically, your exams do get harder as you progress through, but certain people struggle with the easier things and excel better with things that tend to be harder for most people. For me, this is the case. I really struggle with basic things, basic understandings, even in everyday stuff, even like in something as common as my first language of English. I will struggle with your more basic concepts of it in terms of grammar more so than anything. But then I really excel in like the harder stuff, such as poetry, Shakespearean literature, and during an exam when the easier stuff comes first, and that's the stuff I tend to struggle with more, I automatically jump to conclusions of, well, I failed this first half, I'm going to fail the rest of it. And that's not always the case, but by jumping to these conclusions, you put yourself in a negative mindset. So yeah, these negative outcomes do tend to happen. Or, maybe you jump to these conclusions about other situations, like maybe you think that your friend doesn't actually like you because of one thing that you've heard from other people. And it could be like the whole Chinese whispers stuff, where by the end, when it reaches to you, it's nothing what your friend said. So you then start to act differently around them or accuse them of this, and yeah, eventually they are going to hate you. So by jumping to conclusions, you then force upon this conclusion that you've jumped to. Another unhelpful pattern of thinking is taking things personally. Now, a lot of times, if you take something personally, it has been personally aimed towards you. This isn't always the case, but even if this is the case, don't take things personally. We're supposed to thrive off constructive criticism. So think of whatever is being personally said towards you or personally brought upon you as, something to improve from and thrive off rather than something to bring you down. Now, if this is something people are saying towards you rather than other situations that you probably brought upon yourself in terms of you're bad with money, so you end up in a lot of debt, that's, you are going to take things personally in that sense. But taking things personally in a sense of somebody said something towards you. Now, over the past few years, I've learnt the phrase that hurt people hurt people. So people that are hurting tend to be the ones that then hurt others. The whole thing of bullies used to be bullied. And it's because as humans, we are very, very bad at channeling the negativity thrown at us into something else. Somebody hurts us, our instant thing is, well, somebody's bringing me down to make themselves feel better, I'm going to do the same. And we don't always know everyone's background story, but don't take things personal in the sense of somebody's hurting you by bullying you, saying things towards you. Think of it in a sense of, well, they're hurting. They've chosen me to pick on, to throw these things at me because they think I'm weaker and weak enough that, I'm just going to take it and, it's going to bring me down. Don't let it bring you down. Think of it in a sense, well, they're leaving somebody else alone. They're leaving somebody who probably wouldn't have been able to cope with it alone. So whenever they're doing stuff like that towards me, they're leaving other, possibly weaker people alone. And they're probably hurting themselves. So try and reach out an olive branch, Try and talk to them, try and ask them if they're okay. And by showing this compassion towards them, maybe they'll think twice about being hurtful towards you. Trust me, I've done this to some of my bullies. It sometimes works. Sometimes, people are just awful people. But try it. Another pattern of unhelpful thinking is mind reading. Instantly assuming that a person doesn't like you because of a particular movement, a particular look. You're judging their thoughts before they've probably even thought something. And you mind read a situation which links back to everything I've already brought up. A lot of these patterns do interlink. Another one that tends to cover all of the ones mentioned is something called filtering. You focus on the negatives and forget the positives. So, you are wholeheartedly focusing on all the negative things that are currently going off in your life, but you're missing the positives. You're missing the silver lining to the grey clouds. You're missing that hope of sunshine because you're too busy focusing on all the negatives. You're too busy focusing on all the storms and the rain. So you're missing the sun, so you'll never see the rainbow. And try to focus more on the positives is probably the other thing that is going to, break this pattern. And yeah, sometimes you need to focus on the negatives to become a better person, to improve. Criticism is the only thing that's going to make you improve. And sometimes it can get too much and it can bring you down. But flip it. If somebody doesn't like the way you've particularly drawn a piece of art, flip it and, well, you might not like theirs. Everybody has their own taste. If you like it, that's all that really matters. Or flip it to improve your work. If an art teacher, for example, comes up and says, well, if you've used this technique rather than one you've used, you've been able to get this shape better. So instead of taking it as a negative thing, do it, practice it, and you know what? Maybe your artwork will improve. And this goes on for so many subjects. It's just art's the easiest one to use. And then my last pattern of unhelpful thinking is perfectionism or black and white thinking. You know, you either pass or fail. You either achieve and succeed, or you fail at everything in life, and you know it's not worth you even trying. And this tends to come from schools more so than students or peers or people you work with. And it's because schools force onto us that we need good grades to succeed in life. We don't. I mean, look at all those famous people out there. Some of the great scientists in the world didn't have great education. You know, some failed in school. You know, some probably wouldn't even be able to, you know, pass basic exams, but they focused on what they were good at and they've made a career out of it. So, yeah, maybe, you know, your grades aren't perfect. Maybe they're the worst in a year. But maybe you're not good at the stuff that you've been taught or the stuff you've been tested on. You know, a common thing is you are tested on roughly 8 to 15 different topics per subject, and depending on your grade level. And you only tend to be tested on 4 of them. Other than maths, where they do tend to get a bit of everything, and English as well, you do tend to only get tested on roughly half of what you are taught. And maybe in this test, it was the half you wasn't so good at. So instead of focusing on, you know, grades and instantly thinking, oh, I failed, I'm going to fail at life, be like, no, I know I can do this, this, and this, and we wasn't tested on it. So you focus on that, and that is what, you know, you use to succeed. You know? So thinking you have to be perfect, and this whole black and white thinking of, well, we was given this, I failed at it, so I'm a failure. Don't. Think of it in terms of, well, they gave me this, I didn't succeed at it, but I know I'm better at this topic, so I'm going to try and focus around that more and try and get a better grade at that when it comes around, because it will. Or be like, well, this area is the area I struggle on, so rather than focusing on the area I'm good on and I enjoy, I'm going to do twice as much work on the area I'm not good at. And it helps to show us our strengths and our weaknesses. So by having this black and white thinking and this whole idea of perfectionism and we have to be perfect at everything. I'm sorry, but nobody, and I mean nobody, is perfect at everything. We are all perfect in our own way and based off things that we love and enjoy. So that's one pattern of unhelpful thinking. I think if we got rid of that, we wouldn't have all these issues. So I'm going to propose to you that you all do something called balanced thinking, where you challenge these thoughts. So you have an unhelpful thought, an unhelpful pattern. So we'll go with the last one that I said, that you fail at everything because you failed one test. Right? So that is your unhelpful thought. Now you need to find contradictory evidence to this. Challenge this. So, I don't know, maybe you failed one paper, but you've passed 3. So then your balanced thinking outcome would be, well, I've passed at these 3, I've failed at that one. The stuff in that one is my weaker stuff, so I need to work on it more to improve. But I also need to use the 3 that I've passed on, the things I'm good at, to my advantage. So for me, I always really struggled with physics out of all the sciences. I was okay in chemistry, it was kind of a bit hit and miss, but I really excelled in biology. It was something I loved. I found out I was watching loads of documentaries to do with it. It was something that I'd read about and not even realise it. And so now I'm trying to pursue a career in biology based off the things that I'm good at, because the things you're good at, you tend to enjoy more. And I know it's like easier said than done, especially if, one of the negative thoughts is, you have a lot of evidence to back it up. So, maybe you don't have a lot of friends and maybe you was bullied a lot. So that is going to be a negative thought. And, maybe you do have a lot of evidence to back this up. And the loophole around this is you focus on the positives. So, maybe you went through your entire secondary school or high school or whatever being bullied. But maybe you can find some positives in that. So you found out who your true friends were. Maybe you learned a new skill at school, something like that. So by focusing on the positives, more will then follow. And by chasing these positive stuff and chasing the dreams and goals you've set based off the positives that you find in your life, you will then be able to reach them. And then, even in times of complete negativity in your life, there will be something positive. And I guess one of my favourite sayings that helps me when I feel like there is no positives is, if you shoot for the moon and you miss, you'll land among the stars. So set your goal as high as you possibly can, and if you miss it, you're still going to achieve something great. And take this into everyday life. So aim to try and break these patterns of unhelpful thinking, because then even if you don't break them all, or you're unable to break them all, you'll have at least broken a few, and you'll feel better and you'll see more positives, and then you'll be able to destroy the other ones without even realizing you've done it. So, my sunflowers, by focusing on the positives and finding evidence to contradict negatives, more positives will then follow you, no matter what you do in life. So try to break these unhelpful thinking patterns. I know it's hard, it's going to take a lot of work, but we can do this together. So on my final note, plant a little love and the sunshine will follow. Bye.